What happens when pride meets platform and talent meets truth? You get a takeover, and it's gloriously queer. On today's episode of LGBTQ+ Vibes, we're spotlighting 10 TikTok creators who are breaking the mold, bending the rules, and turning likes into legacy. From athletes to cultural disruptors, these stars are changing the game. Drop your city in the comments and stay tuned for a surprise at the end. Ready? Let's dive in. Before TikTok knew his name, Paget was already dancing through life like the world was his stage. Raised in the vibrant city of Miami, Ian's childhood pulsed with rhythm, ballet, tap, jazz, anything that let him move with grace and fire. With a magnetic smile and energy that lit up every room he entered, he was never meant to blend in. He trained like a pro, dreamed like an artist, and chased his Broadway ambitions with a fire that could not be tamed. But when TikTok emerged as a cultural force, Ian found a new kind of spotlight. Not the scripted stage, but one where authenticity reigned. He did not chase trends, he brought joy. And in doing so, he captured hearts in ways no choreography could prepare him for. His early videos were more than just entertainment. They were connection in motion. Whether he was dancing solo, lip-syncing to pop hits, or sharing playful, heartfelt moments with then-partner Olsen, Ian created content that felt alive, real, and full of heart. His queerness was not hidden or edited out. It was center stage, celebrated in every laugh, every touch, every moment of vulnerability. For young LGBTQ+ viewers, seeing a joyful, open, and unapologetically queer man thriving in front of millions was nothing short of powerful. But being visible online is never without cost. When their relationship went viral, so did the scrutiny. And after the breakup, Ian faced a new challenge: how to remain open-hearted in a space that often thrives on judgment. He did not shy away. Instead, he leaned in, turning heartbreak into healing, awkwardness into laughter, and pain into purpose. Paget is more than a TikTok creator. He is a symbol of radical joy and resilient pride. His content has matured alongside him. Vibrant dances still make fans smile, but now they sit beside candid talks about mental health, self-love, and staying grounded in a digital world. He has expanded into acting, hosting, and live performance, yet never lost the spark that made millions fall for him in the first place. In a space that rewards curated perfection, Ian chose honesty. In a world that often demands masks, he gave us truth. And in doing so, he reminded an entire generation that the most powerful kind of fame is the kind built on being exactly who you are. If Ian's journey taught us anything, it is this: the bravest dance is not the one done for applause, it is the one where you show up as your full, fearless self. Before the internet crowned him its favorite gay best friend, Olsen was just a suburban kid quietly learning how to survive in a world that did not yet understand him. Growing up in a conservative environment, Chris felt different before he even had the words to explain why. He learned early how to be charming, how to make people laugh before they had the chance to question him. It was defense, it was performance, and it was survival. But inside that emotional tightrope walk was the making of something extraordinary. A boy with empathy, depth, and comedic timing so sharp, it could pierce through even the coldest silence. Years later, those very qualities would turn him into one of the most beloved queer voices online. Not because he pretended to be perfect, but because he never pretended at all. Chris first caught the world's attention through his relationship with fellow TikToker Paget, a love story that felt refreshingly real during a time when the world desperately needed hope. Their videos were simple: two men dancing, laughing, cuddling, living out loud. But in those moments, millions saw a version of queer love that was soft, joyful, and ordinary in the best way. They became relationship goals, not because they were flawless, but because they were familiar. When the relationship ended, the internet held its breath. Would Chris retreat, disappear, edit his heartbreak into silence? He did the opposite. He talked about it. He cried. He allowed people to see the cracks, the messiness, the real emotional fallout. And in doing so, something remarkable happened. People leaned in. They followed not just the content, but the courage. Because what Chris offered was rare. A public breakdown handled with humor, honesty, and a refusal to pretend everything was okay just for likes. From that heartbreak bloomed a career rooted in authenticity and a mission deeper than virality. Chris's signature coffee runs became comfort content. His chaotic FaceTimes with celebrities were unfiltered magic. He never toned himself down to be palatable, never masked his queerness for brand appeal. And because of that, he built something real. Today, Chris Olsen is not just a TikTok star. He is a media personality, a mental health advocate, a cultural force for visibility and connection. His partnerships, magazine covers, and viral moments are not just wins for his career. They are victories for every LGBTQ+ kid who ever wondered if being themselves was enough. Chris proved that the most powerful thing you can be is honest. Drop a 3 if Chris made you believe that real connection begins the moment you stop pretending. James Barr was a kid trying to be smaller in a world that had no idea what to do with someone like him. Growing up in London, he felt the pressure to be polite, quiet, and agreeable, to dim the light that made him unique. In his heart, though, lived a bold, bright voice itching to be heard. When he stepped into the comedy scene, it was like walking a tightrope. Too gay for mainstream clubs, too polished for underground queer rooms. But James never showed up to fit in. He showed up to break the system. With a mic in one hand and radical self-truth in the other, he chose not to shrink. He chose to make people laugh his way. Comedy became his escape, his defense, and eventually his weapon of change. For a long time, even on stage, James avoided talking about his queerness. He knew what the industry expected. Safe jokes, broad appeal, keep it clean, keep it neutral. But when he finally came out, not just privately but through his comedy, everything shifted. He stopped aiming to please and started speaking from truth. He told jokes only he could tell about being awkward, anxious, fabulously gay, and unapologetically human. It was risky. Bookers told him it might cost him. But it did the opposite. His voice became louder and the world leaned in. His breakout moment came with A Gay and a Non-Gay, a podcast pairing him with his straight best friend Dan Hudson. The show was more than funny. It was radical. Two friends, two perspectives, navigating queerness, masculinity, and life in a way that felt honest, hilarious, and healing. It did not just entertain, it educated, one joke at a time. James Barr is not just a comedian. He is a cultural force, a truth teller, and a fearless advocate for queer joy. His shows sell out. His TikToks and Instagram reels go viral not just for laughs, but for what they mean. He talks openly about mental health, loneliness, and the sometimes chaotic process of learning to love yourself. And through it all, he never hides his queerness. He wears it like a crown. What sets him apart is not just the comedy, it is the courage. James turned his life into a stage not just to perform, but to empower. For a generation of queer kids looking for laughter and permission to be themselves, James delivers both. He is proof that the world does not need a filtered version of you, it needs you exactly as you are. Drop a 4 if James's fearless humor reminds you that being unapologetically yourself is not just powerful, it is everything. Before TikTok became the loud, chaotic stage it is today, Josh Helfgott carved out a quiet corner that felt like home. Long before the app crowned a new generation of creators, he was already doing something quietly extraordinary. He told stories. Not stories built on fame, filters, or flashy dance trends, but stories built on truth. He talked about love, heartbreak, identity, and bravery. The kind of soft, steady courage it takes to live as your authentic self in a world that often misunderstands you. Josh did not set out to be a queer icon. He started with one simple question. What if LGBTQ+ stories were celebrated instead of erased? And so, with a voice like a trusted friend and a smile that felt like comfort, he began to post. He spotlighted forgotten heroes, shared overlooked history, and offered something increasingly rare in the digital age: substance. In a sea of noise and spectacle, Josh's gentle storytelling cut through like a whisper that demanded attention. His early videos were short, just seconds long, but packed with meaning. One day, it was the first gay kiss ever aired on television. Another, a brave athlete who came out at the peak of his career. Or a couple who risked everything simply by loving each other out loud. Josh never sensationalized, he never lectured, he celebrated. And in doing so, he made history feel close, personal, like it belonged to all of us. His audience grew not because of shock value, but because he offered something deeper. A safe, joyful, welcoming space in a world that can feel hostile to difference. As his community expanded into the millions, so did his impact. He partnered with LGBTQ+ organizations, launched visibility campaigns, and used his platform to connect queer youth with mental health resources. All without ever losing the sincerity that made people stay in the first place. Josh Helfgott is more than a content creator, he is a quiet revolutionary. His success is not built on algorithms or outrage, but on hope, empathy, and truth. He has become a new kind of queer icon, one who whispers instead of shouts, who uplifts rather than provokes, and who turns storytelling into an act of radical love. Josh reminds us that being soft is not weakness, it is resistance. That being visible in all your authenticity is sometimes the most powerful thing you can do. In a digital world that often rewards the loudest, he proved that sometimes the most unforgettable voice is the one that simply tells the truth. Drop a 2 if Josh's stories ever made you feel just a little more seen. Because that feeling, that is the revolution. In a digital world filled with filters and performances, Kay's Hurricane showed up with nothing but truth. Loud, proud, and unapologetically Arab and gay. Growing up in a conservative Muslim household in the United States, Kay's always felt the weight of silence. It was not just about being different, it was about being invisible. Queerness and culture clashed in every direction around him, making him feel like he had to choose between identity and belonging. But Kay's did not choose. He fought, and he made space for both. When he arrived on TikTok, he did not just bring charisma, he brought fire. His energy was explosive, his humor sharp, and his presence impossible to ignore. But beneath the laughter was a deeper mission: to show queer Arab youth that they were never alone, and that their identity did not have to be a contradiction. Kay's turned comedy into a weapon of healing, one viral video at a time. He joked about coming out, about awkward family dinners, about the cultural expectations he was constantly defying. But in every laugh, there was a layer of resistance. In every skit, a reminder that surviving within dual identities was itself a form of power. For so many LGBTQ+ Muslims scrolling through TikTok, Kay's was the first person who looked like them, spoke like them, and said what they had always been too afraid to say. He broke the silence with sass, turned generational trauma into punchlines, and made confession feel like celebration. His platform quickly grew, not because he catered to the mainstream, but because he created a new lane, one that was loud, brown, queer, Muslim, and proud. In a space that often flattens identities, Kay's demanded complexity, and the world listened. Kay's Hurricane is more than a content creator. He is a cultural disruptor, wrapped in glitter and grit. His influence extends beyond TikTok. He has been featured in queer panels, collaborated with major organizations, and continues to be a voice for intersectional visibility in a space that desperately needs it. But through it all, he has stayed true to who he is: messy, honest, hilarious, and radically whole. He is not here to represent the perfect queer story. He is here to represent the real one, the one filled with contradiction, joy, tension, resilience, and unapologetic self-love. For every queer kid navigating religion and identity, Kay's offers a mirror and a megaphone. Drop a 5 if his fearless joy reminds you that you do not have to choose between where you come from and who you are, because sometimes being both is where your power truly begins. In a digital universe where countless creators flash across screens, Nicky Champa stands out, not because he's the loudest, but because he's the most honest. His rise was not built on spectacle, but on sincerity. With striking looks and a natural flair for performance, Nicky could have easily leaned into surface-level stardom. Instead, he chose vulnerability. Every post, every glance, every caption was layered with intention, a reflection of someone who wasn't just performing for attention, but connecting through experience. His audience did not just watch him grow, they grew with him. Whether through raw reflections or playful moments with his partner Pierre Boo, Nicky offered a glimpse into queer love and queer identity that felt both aspirational and grounded. It wasn't filtered perfection, it was real life, lived out in all its boldness and beauty. The relationship that helped define his public presence never overshadowed his individuality. It enhanced it. When Nicky and Pierre married in 2022, their love became a symbol, not just of romance, but of possibility. For many in the LGBTQ+ community, seeing two men celebrate their union openly and joyfully felt revolutionary. But Nicky never let the romance consume his message. Even as fans swooned over their couple content, he continued to explore his own voice, opening up about mental health, loneliness, and the pressure of visibility. He showed that love is not a cure-all, it's a journey. And sometimes that journey requires showing up as your full, unfiltered self, even when it's messy, even when it hurts. Through it all, Nicky remained magnetic, not because he had all the answers, but because he was unafraid to ask the hard questions out loud. Wherever his career takes him next, one thing is clear. Nicky isn't chasing validation, he's shaping a legacy. From creative short films to introspective monologues, he's building a body of work that doesn't just entertain, it resonates. His content is equal parts celebration and confession, a space where laughter and honesty coexist without apology. In a world that often rewards conformity, Nicky has chosen authenticity. Not the kind that's neatly packaged, but the kind that breathes, stumbles, and gets back up stronger. He's not here to be anyone's perfect representation. He's here to be real. And in doing so, he's offering something rare and powerful. The reminder that queer visibility doesn't have to be polished to be powerful. It just has to be true. Tap a 6 if Nicky ever made you feel seen in all the ways that truly matter. Love for Pierre Boo was never about just being seen. It was about making others feel seen too. His journey into the hearts of millions began not with a viral stunt or a big-budget production, but with something far more powerful: honesty. In 2022, Pierre and his longtime partner Nicky Champa said "I do," and the internet fell even harder for them, not just because they were beautiful together, but because their love felt real. Their content did not sell fantasy. It invited people into a relationship built on trust, playfulness, and vulnerability. While the world was busy scrolling, Pierre was building something different, a digital space that radiated warmth. His humor was subtle, his presence calming, and his every post carried a quiet kind of pride that spoke volumes without ever needing to shout. Even after the wedding bells faded, Pierre continued to evolve. As a creator, a storyteller, and an advocate. His audience grew by the millions, drawn to his signature blend of creativity and sincerity. Each video he shared, whether it was a goofy couple moment, a reflective solo thought, or a loving nod to his roots, was laced with intention. In a space often dominated by curated perfection, Pierre chose to be whole instead. He opened up about navigating the pressures of online visibility, the nuances of being both romantic and reserved, and the balance between sharing love and protecting it. His content became a mirror for queer people who were tired of only seeing love portrayed through extremes. Here was someone embracing softness without apology, turning the ordinary into something poetic, and proving that quiet joy could be just as revolutionary as bold defiance. Today, Pierre Boo is more than just one half of a famous couple. He is a symbol of gentle resilience in a loud world. He has become a role model, not by striving for attention, but by staying true to himself. His videos, though simple in format, carry the weight of someone who understands that representation is not just about being visible, it is about being honest. Whether making people laugh with dry wit or comforting them with a glance full of love, Pierre creates content that feels like a soft place to land. His love story is not just with Nicky, it is with the audience who grew up watching him, the ones who finally felt that queer love could be celebrated without being exaggerated. Drop a 7 if Pierre ever made you believe that in a world chasing noise, being calm, kind, and completely yourself is the most powerful thing of all. Emmy Hartman never tried to fit in. She made not fitting in her superpower. Her TikToks burst onto the scene like a caffeine-fueled FaceTime with your funniest friend at 2 a.m. Chaotic, honest, and totally unfiltered, her content felt like a rebellion against the polished perfection of social media. But beneath the screaming and absurd humor was a deeper heartbeat, a proud queer identity that refused to be edited. Growing up in suburban Ohio, Emmy never saw herself in the media. She wasn't the picture of tidy queerness. She was messy, loud, awkward, and beautifully human. So she decided to become the visibility she craved, not by making grand declarations, but simply by showing up over and over again as her whole self. Her rise wasn't sudden. She built it one unhinged video at a time, turning breakdowns into comedy, insecurities into punchlines, and everyday chaos into community. Emmy's feed became a space where queer kids could finally exhale. And when she came out, it felt like a continuation, not a reveal. Because her queerness was already woven into every laugh, every spiraling rant, every imperfect moment. She didn't perform queerness, she embodied it, casually and courageously. What sets Emmy apart is not just her humor, but her vulnerability. In a world obsessed with filters, she chose realness. She spoke openly about mental health, the pressure to stay relevant, and the ache of not always having it together. Yet, she never sought pity, only connection. Emmy proved that imperfection is power, and that being weird, loud, and a little chaotic is not a flaw, but a form of freedom. She didn't ask to be a role model. She just stayed true. And that was enough to make thousands feel seen. What if the most powerful thing you could be was exactly who you were? That's a roundup of 10 incredible queer creatives who aren't just famous, they've redefined what it means to be seen. From chaos to courage, they've turned every flaw into fuel and every truth into triumph. If their stories make you laugh, think, or feel a little more comfortable, you've come to the right place. Leave a comment if you believe that being yourself is the boldest thing you can be. See you next time on LGBTQ+ Vibes. Like and follow us for what you want.